All right, everyone. Good morning and happy Saturday. My name is Callie, and this is Clarinet's Cats Live. Wah! So thank you all so much for tuning in today. Today's session is going to be a question and answer session. So I have been collecting questions from patrons and channel members. So I'm going to start by answering those questions first. And as we get going, if anything pops into your head, feel free to swing over to the live chat and just enter your question there. I am planning on being online for maybe 30 minutes or so, depending on how much fun we start to have with questions and answers. So let's just jump right into all of these questions here. So the very first question that I have is from a patron over on Patreon. And this question is, how is piano and piano interpreted in different contexts, such as solo, soli, woodwind ensemble, tutti, and counter melody? So before I answer that, I want to make sure everyone can hear me because I'm just talking here. Can you guys hear me? Can you put that in the chat? Can you hear me? Are we good? Because I think, let's see, there's a nice group of you here watching. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that question then. So how is mezzo piano interpreted in different contexts? Solo, soli, woodwind ensemble, tutti, and counter melody. Okay, so for me, well, yes, it depends on the context. I guess that was the question, right? So I like to think of dynamics as sort of being more of a color of the sound rather than loud or soft. And generally mezzo piano, even pianissimo, you're going to want to play with a more introverted, a little bit more of a intimate sort of sound, right? And so if I'm playing the melody, I know I'm going to want to play so that others can hear me, but not so much that my sound becomes bright or edgy or anything that could be mistaken as, the strength and power of a fortissimo or forte dynamic. So I'm going to play out a little bit more, but try to keep that warmth of the sound. If I'm playing the counter melody or the bass line or any kind of inner voice, it really depends. My dynamic will really depend on what the lead voice is doing. And so my rule is, if I can't hear the lead voice, then I'm playing too loud, right? And I want to try to be sensitive and match what they are giving me in terms of color, dynamic, phrasing. So I'm going to try to play low enough so that I can blend with them. So that being said, in different ensemble contexts, if I'm playing a solo with an ensemble, then the essence of the sound and the essence of that color will translate to the solo sound, right? So if I'm thinking mezzo piano or piano, okay, I want to try to communicate the nice, gentle sound, but I need to project my sound. So I'm going to play out a little more, but it will require a little bit more effort to try to maintain the right color of sound. If I'm playing in a woodwind ensemble, it would, again, like I said, it would depend on the volume of the lead voice. And if I'm the lead voice, then I would hope everybody would go to what I can do. And then if it's a 2T passage and if we're all in unison, then I would say the most important thing right there is, well, like I said before, just maintaining that group sound, the essence of the color of the sound. So that's a really, really great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So the next patron question here. Oh, this is such a good question. Okay, when did you notice yourself starting to make the transition from student to mentor? And the follow-up question is, what did it feel like at first to be the one teaching and providing guidance rather than receiving it? Well, I've always kind of been the kind of person who likes to take the lead in situations that I kind of know about. So I would say I started taking on leadership roles in a musical context when I was in high school, and I wouldn't say I was a teacher or anything. I did have a couple of private students who were beginners at that time. So I think that I feel like I'm still a student. I'm still learning things. So I would say I've always kind of been in both roles since maybe my teenage years. And, at times I feel more heavily a student, a learner, for example, when I was in college or when I was playing in the Civic Orchestra in Chicago. I felt more, that student mentality of just trying to absorb and learn as much as I can. But, swings back the other way when I'm working to teach students of all different ages and levels. So I guess, I don't know. I would say I'm always trying to learn. Even as a teacher, I learn a lot from my students, which is kind of exciting. So being the one providing guidance and acting as a mentor, it feels good because I love being part of the process of helping others achieve whatever their goals are. And it's really fun for me to kind of work with others and kind of be a cheerleader and help them work through whatever it is they're working on. And it's really fun to see people be successful as musicians and clarinet. So I would say it felt pretty good, pretty awesome. So our next question is a short one. What music is currently on your music stand? Well, you can see back here on my stand right now, I've got my, what is this? Carbonari warm-up, which is really fun. I've been kind of obsessed with the first, 12 pages of this as a daily warm-up. They're just like all these arpeggios and different chord patterns that I find really fun and interesting to play. So that's been one of my favorite things. I would say, did I say this already? For about a year. Let's see, what else do I have here? I've got the music to the Copland Concerto. There's a chance that I might perform it at some point later this year, but I'm not really sure. But it is fun to practice, so I have it out. I've got a couple of the Kalman Opperman books on my stands here. So I will admit I've never actually played through the entire elementary method because some of this is really boring, and I'm very sorry, but sometimes my brain gets really bored with some of this stuff. But I decided I wanted to play through every single one of these exercises at some point this year. So here we go. I'm doing it. And the intermediate one over here is really fun. I like pulling those out for variety and different finger warm-ups and stuff. And then I have my clarinet quartet music right there. We just had a concert last week. We just released our new album, Cooler by the Lake. I think, let's see, I have it right there. Get a little red CD right there. And that concert was so much fun. We actually sold out, even though it was -9 outside, which was very exciting. So anyway, so I've got my music on my stand left from that. But yeah, that's a fun question there. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one. What music is currently on my listening playlist? Well, just yesterday I was listening to I have a playlist of I call it fun and funky music, and it's a lot of like Wolfpack tunes, and let's see, I just discovered this artist Sam Greenfield last year, so I put some of his music on there and a few others. So I like any kind of music that has a nice fun funky beat. So yeah, that's what I've been into lately. Okay, next question, another patron question here. And oh, look at all these great questions on the live stream. I will get to those in just a moment. Very, very cool. Okay, we're coming back to the, let's see. Oh, what challenges are you trying to currently address in your playing? Okay, so for myself, there are two things that I have been kind of chewing on, well, for a few years, but I think I've been making some good progress in the past, I would say maybe 8 months or so. And that is focus and playing without tension. And so I'm trying to make note. I've got a little notebook here of when I'm performing, because it tends to happen. Tension for me will build up the longer I perform, and I could play a lick really well when I'm practicing on my own, but I get to the performance and I start getting tired, and for me it's both. It's mental fatigue and sometimes physical fatigue. So I get to the lick and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. So I have been over the past 8 months trying to make notes of times when things go really well and why, and things that don't go really well for me and why that may happen. And I'm trying to translate that into my personal practice. So for example, if I find that tension is causing tension from fatigue of playing is building up, I will practice longer practice sessions. I'll even do a full run of the whole program just on my own at home to kind of see what happens with my body when I get to those moments. And I try to just I've been building my endurance to try to prevent things like that from happening. And so I think I've been having more success. And so in terms of focus, well, I just said that I've been doing that elementary method in the Opperman, and I think that's a good example of where my focus can just kind of go away whenever you're just doing quarter notes and you're really trying to you're like, oh my gosh, what am I trying to accomplish? Just plodding along with these long notes, So So I've been looking for different things to focus on once the notes are there and the rhythms are there. So for example, listening to my sound, really trying to just focus on my breathing and how I'm phrasing through things. So I know that was a very long explanation for kind of the things that I'm working on in my own personal practice. But yeah, that was a really good question. So thank you. Let's see. What's the next one? We have a couple more from the Patreon form. Let's see. Could you give a couple of words of encouragement or stories from past teachers that helped you along the way? Oh man, that is a really good question. I think, I'm gonna have to think about that. I think when it comes to that, I think I'm still processing the work that I did with my teachers. I'm still processing that advice. I know I graduated, in 2011, but there are still moments where I'm like, oh, so that is what Julie was talking about when she's talking about air support, or this is what Larry was telling me, and he was talking about breathing from the belly. And so I would say there are still things that are kind of clicking in my mind, and so I would say their guidance helped me along the way, but I would say that their guidance is still helping me even today with that. All right, one more question. Oh, hi, it's Penguin Studios. I think that's my cousin. Hi. Okay, cool. Shout out. Anyway, coming back to the questions here. Is it okay to leave your clarinet fully assembled after you practice and after you swab it out, of course, or must you disassemble every time? How long can you leave it fully assembled? Well, I'm still searching for the answer to that because I teach all day, almost every day. And yes, that's my cousin. Oh yeah, my little cousin plays clarinet as well, and my little cousin isn't really that little anymore. They're in high school. So anyway, so coming back, so I'm still searching for the answer to that question though, because I teach all day, every day almost, and so my clarinet is pretty much out, like 12 hours every day. So I swab my instrument frequently when I'm done practicing, if I know I'm going to have a little bit of a break from playing my instruments. And so I would say my clarinets are doing okay, leaving them out 12 hours a day. I do put it away every night. And if I have a break that's going to be longer than an hour, then I will also put my instrument away so it's not sitting out. I think one of the issues that some people will have if they leave their instrument out for too long is that the pads can get kind of gross and sort of wear out faster maybe. I use synthetic pads, and I've used synthetic pads since 2005, and I've only ever had to replace one in all of my clarinets. So I'm a big supporter of that. They're very low maintenance, so I don't have to worry about my pads when I leave my instrument sitting out. The only thing I worry about is the wood itself. So I do have humidifiers running in my apartment in the wintertime to try to minimize any risk of cracking, and of course keep it swabbed out. So I hope that helps. I don't know if I'm the best example of that, but my clarinets seem to be doing just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna check. That's it for the patron questions. I'm going to double check for channel members, and I think so. Let's see. There was a patron question posted on Facebook, and then it was deleted. But I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question anyway because it was a very good one. The one question was, does each octave require a different embouchure position? For example, if playing low notes, does it require a different tongue position versus higher notes? So this is something that is debatable depending on how you were taught and how you play. I was taught to play as consistently as possible in embouchure and tongue position. So I do not make any purposeful changes playing low versus playing high. If I do make any minor changes, they're so minor that I shouldn't even really be thinking about them anyway. So, and I think we can learn a lot if we try to actually play very consistently from low to high. So, you know, if you feel like you've got a pretty decent upper register, but you try to use that same embouchure and tongue position on the low register, but it sounds kind of tight and gross, you may need to just take a step back and reassess your embouchure and your tongue position for everything you play, because it may actually open up your sound and improve your sound in everything. So I would encourage you to practice good embouchure technique and good, you know, not the corners back or smile, but corners in, chin flat kind of embouchure to give tiny bits of flexibility, and then also keeping the tongue in a higher position to help propel the wind through the instrument without having to become tense or push too hard. So that's a really good question, very good question. And then I think I have one other question here from Facebook patron. What are your favorite early intermediate clarinet solos? I'm still learning about those, but I really like the Rubank Easy Clarinet Solo book for the simple reason that they took like some of the greatest hits in classical music and condensed them into solo repertoire. So for example, the very first one is based off of a Chopin piano piece, and it's just very lyrical and beautiful. There's another one in there when I start to notice a younger player getting more into playing expressively, and they start learning more about dynamics. I'll give them the solo in it that's based off of the slow movement of the New World Symphony. So that one's really fun, especially with the big dynamic changes in the climax of the piece. So I really like that book, at least to start out. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here to the live stream questions. And we're going to start right here up at the top. Ooh, okay. This is a good question. Okay. Do you need stronger or softer reeds in the winter? I have always thought the answer was softer, but recently I empirically found out it's the opposite. How about you? What's the theory behind it? Man, Yes, I've thought about this too. I've always played on softer reeds in the summer, when it's really hot and humid in the Midwest, and I always play on harder reeds in the winter. That seems to work out pretty well for me. I don't know if other people have that same experience, but I don't know. Maybe it's the humidity. Maybe the reeds just dry out faster in the winter, so they feel more thin to play. And I'm not a reed soaker, but I have to soak my reeds now in the winter. It's just they just dry out. So yeah, I don't know what the theory is behind that. I think yeah, maybe just weather related and humidity related, but that's a great question. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's see. Is there a real negligible difference between a metal, leather, or other type of ligature? I think so. I really think so. And if for no other reason than for the way it feels to be the person playing it. But I do think, yeah, I do think there is a noticeable difference in the way things sound between different ligatures. I tend to prefer the metal ligatures or but type ligature, meaning like the two vertical metal plates that sit on top of the reed. I tend to gravitate toward that kind of ligature, although I've been really digging this MO ligature lately. And the reason for that is I just feel like the lighter ligatures made from metal just seem to give me a better projection and cleaner articulation. When I'm using leather ligatures, they may sound nice and pretty and warm kind of up close, but the sound doesn't project the way that I think it does. And I find that with leather ligatures, articulation just sounds a little bit fluffy, like I'm using a lot more of my tongue than I actually am. So, I would like my sound that I create to be a reflection of the effort that I'm putting in. So I don't really want to have to work harder than I need to make my articulation sound clean. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I know a lot of people who play on leather ligatures and they sound just fine. So I think it's personal preference. And like I said, sometimes I do think it is the way you perceive it in your head, how your sound resonates. And so there may be certain materials that, resonate really well in your head, in your mouth, or whatever. So you're more likely to put in that extra bit of effort to project the sound or to articulate cleanly, because the response you're getting back is just exactly what you want. So I think feel is extremely important when it comes to the ligature choice. Yeah, that's a great question. We're gonna move on. Let's see. What clarinet swab do you recommend? Oh, I recommend. I don't know where it went. This one. I like this one. This is made by Vandoren, and I will tell you why I like it. It is microfiber. There's I've never had this ligature, this swab. I've never had this swab get stuck in my clarinet, so it's kind of thin, but it's super absorbent. It doesn't leave a trail of, what's that stuff called? Lint. Since it's microfiber, it's not like cotton, where cotton can leave stuff behind. So it's very clean and it's not scratchy. It's super soft. So I only have to take my swab through maybe a couple times to kind of get everything out. So yeah, that's one of my favorites for those reasons. Let's see, what's another one? Let's see. And there's my cousin. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Cool. Okay. Oh, all right. My little cuz has a question. Is it okay that I call you my little cousin on a live stream where people can hear me? Too bad I just did it. Okay. I love you. Callie, how do you get the hard spit specks inside of the clarinet mouthpiece out? I tried water and the cleaning swab, but it doesn't seem to work. Oh, are you talking about there's no way for you to really answer me. I guess you could type it in and say yes, but what, like, are you talking about like all that white stuff? Like, ew, Callie, your mouthpiece is so gross. Yeah, I need to clean it. If you're talking about that, all that white stuff, that can be removed with distilled white vinegar. You take a solution of that, you fill up this tiny glass that is definitely not a alcohol tasting glass, halfway with white vinegar and halfway with water, and you just put your mouthpiece in for a couple of minutes and all that stuff will dissolve. You can take a super soft microfiber cloth. Wait, you know what microfiber looks like. I don't have to show you. Anyway, and you wipe it all off, and then you can rinse it with cold water. Don't use hot water because hot water is going to make your mouthpiece smell funny because it reacts with the hard rubber. It's not going to damage it, I don't think, but it will just smell funny and it may discolor the mouthpiece. So I stick with cold because I like my mouthpiece to look shiny and new, even if it's not, except today, apparently, because now it looks gross. Anyway, great question. Oh man, I knew somebody was going to ask any thoughts on synthetic reeds. Okay, so here are my thoughts. I have none. I don't use synthetic reeds, so I can't really tell you anything based on my own experience, but I do have students who will play on synthetic reeds, they'll play on cane reeds, and they sound good. So if you like the sound and you don't want to mess with cane reeds, I think synthetic is a good way to go. I play with colleagues who sound fantastic on synthetic reeds, and they make fun of me because I'm sitting there with my little sanding thing, and they're like, you could switch, and I'm like, but I don't wanna. So anyway, I think they're definitely worth a try. I do know that there are certain mouthpieces that will work better with synthetic reeds than others, but I can't tell you what those mouthpieces are. I have had students have success with a BD5 and synthetic reeds. So I don't know if that helps. And the other thing that everybody seems to recommend is to use leather ligatures and crank them really tight so that the reed doesn't shift around too much. So that's all that I can offer on the synthetic reed department. So maybe one of these days I'll do a whole synthetic reed video, and I'll try them all out, and I'll give a few of my first impression ideas. So very good question. Okay, let's see. Have I tried double lip? I love playing double lip. It helps me stay relaxed, and when I start to feel stuff in my throat get kind of tense, I switch to double lip, and it just reminds me to keep my air going at the front of my mouth. So I would recommend it to anybody who is looking to, one, strengthen their embouchure. If you're a biter, I'd recommend doing long tones with double lip embouchure. and practice overblowing your registers and things like that with double lip embouchure, just to really get good at voicing, really. So like I'll take a low C and then I'll overblow it to get a G, and then I'll overblow it again to get an E, and then one more time to get a high A. And I'll do that double lip just to practice not biting, but relying on my air. So yeah, double lip is a good time, and I would definitely recommend being able to do both. Let's see. Okay, what chamber music pieces would you recommend to study in preparation for a week-long seminar with other amateur musicians you've never met? Trio. Last year, ooh, Brahms. Wow. Well, that's a very good question, and I think it depends on your instrumentation. And I think, I mean, there's a lot of let me think. I would have to actually really think about this. The Brahms, I mean, the Mozart Kegelstadt trio, I think, is always a good time and definitely manageable for most players. Especially once you've reached an intermediate level. Like, the thing is, once you've reached an intermediate level, you can play almost anything. It's just the really hard things are gonna take a lot more work, I think. So at least that's in my opinion there. But I think the Kegelstadt is very nice. And wow. Guys, you're asking somebody who plays in a clarinet quartet for like their main gig. So I would say check out my colleague's publishing website, EHM Publishing, because she has a bunch of clarinet quartet music at varying levels. I think she even has a way of ranking all of her arrangements of music, so that you're not just kind of wondering if it's going to be too hard or too easy for you. So if you could do a clarinet quartet, I would definitely recommend checking out EHM Publishing. I will put that down. EHM I can't spell publishing.com, I think. EHM Publishing. Okay, isn't that fun? Everyone just watching me talk to myself. That's cool. But yeah, I think EHM Publishing. Yeah, and she's arranged some solo music and clarinet choir music as well. So definitely worth checking out for that. But yeah, that's a good question. Okay, next question. Okay, recently upgraded to a wooden clarinet, and the case is not insulated. If I'm only outside a few minutes at a time while traveling, going to and from band, would the grenadilla be unbothered? I think it would be fine. If you take your instrument out, if it feels cold to the touch, then that's a problem. But if you're just traveling from your car to inside, it's probably fine. So I would do that. Just feel if it's cold to the touch, then you might want to upgrade your case, or make a cool little case cover like I did. Where'd it go? I don't know where it went. Here it is. Ha! The clarinet lunchbox. At least that's what my students call it. Anyway. I've also considered just throwing my single case into, I have a cooler backpack, but I think that might be overkill. I think a little thing like that is fine. Anyway, I really like bags. I think it just comes down to I like bags, and I like making them and using them. Anyway, let's see. Next question. How do you know when a reed is dead? Oh man, that's a good question, because I'm a person who will play on reeds until the very bitter end. And I probably shouldn't do that, but I do. So I will toss a reed when articulation is if articulation is sounding more labored than normal, if I can't tongue as fast as I normally would be able to. Basically, the articulation is a good indicator of how well the reed is responding. So if the reed is not responding as well as it used to, it's probably on its way out. So so the response of the reed will tell you if it's about to die. And then just the tone quality of it. Sometimes you take out a reed, you go to play, and it sounds a little bit like a kazoo, because sometimes reeds dry funny and they warp. So I will be like, wow, this is gross. I'll soak it in water for a couple minutes to see if it gives it a little more life. Try it again. If it doesn't sound any better, then I know it's probably time to smash it. If it's improved and the articulation is good, the response is good, then I will continue to play on it. So, so if the reed response is bad, and if it sounds like a kazoo, those are the two biggest things that I listen for with reeds. And then the third one is sometimes a reed will be just sound really fuzzy and whistly when it used to sound really nice. Usually if that happens, this is just a tangent. It doesn't necessarily mean it's dead. It probably means it's warped, and you just need a little tool like the little scraper thing, or like some sandpaper or something. You just have to flatten it out. Okay, I just had it. Like this little scraper. I think I did a video on this like years ago. This can kind of help. I think it's just like the ALE reed balancer, and you just take it and you scrape it on the back of the reed, so it just kind of helps flatten it out. I really like it. So there's still hope. This is why my reeds will last like forever, because I'm always trying to find tricks to make them not die. Yeah, so that's a good question. Oh my gosh, this is fun, guys. I can't believe it's already been 38 minutes. Okay, it's okay. I'll take just a few more questions and then we'll head out. Let's see. What is my favorite type of Vandoren reed? Traditional, V12. My favorite, I have two favorites. I like the traditional and I like the V12. Traditional is really nice. I think it gets a nice warm sound, a good response. Articulation is pretty nice. The V12, I kind of like how the brighter sound of the V12. And if I want a little bit more power in my sound. So it kind of just depends on what I'm playing and my mood. So I play on both of those equally. Let's see. All right. We're going to do lightning mode here. Lightning mode, clarinet questions. Here we go. What would the next step up from a E11 be? Wait. Oh, Buffet International. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's an E11. I should know that. Yeah. What would the next step up be? I would say entry-level pros. So an R13, Yamaha CSVR, Summer Presence, Royal Global. They have good entry-level pros, but I don't remember which models are which. I'm sorry. But those are all really good brands, models at that entry-level price point. Let's see. Any tips on tonguing? I've been playing for 4 years and I never learned how. Woo! Okay, that is a with a broken heart. Yes, my heart just broke a little bit for you. I'm so sorry. Any tips on tonguing? I'm going to try to make this quick. So, tips. You want to use the tip of the reed and you want to articulate. Wait, the reed, your tongue. Tip of your tongue. You want to articulate against the tip of the reed. And the most important thing is you don't want to use your tongue to start the sound. You want to use your air, right? So you have to tongue and blow your air at the same time. So by doing that, you will create that kind of like valve sort of effect. And you will also minimize the risk of your sound exploding when it comes out, or getting that like weird clarinet thing where you hear somebody tongue and you hear the and the sound comes like half a second later. Okay, so you have to blow and tongue at the same time. So I do have a bunch of videos on articulation that I can put in the video description here whenever we're done with live stream, so you can check those out on your own. But hopefully that helps. Tip of the tongue, tip of the reed, blow, T. Okay, I'm supposed to be going fast because this is lightning mode, right? What are some good mouth exercises to do after playing for a long time and you're sore? My favorite thing is to smile. So I literally just do that because it helps my corners relax. So go do something fun. Go watch your favorite show that makes you laugh, and that's it. Have you tried Buffet's new clarinet with the low E flat? I have not. I have not, but I want to, and that sounds so cool. But that is all I can say because I don't know anything more about it. How do you teach kids to go over the break into the clarion register? I like to do register skips. So, you play like a low E. The thing is, okay, I have a strong opinion about this. The kid needs to be able to, or the player or the adult, whoever's learning, needs to be able to play all the way down to low E with consistency. That can be really hard for a lot of people to cover all these holes and reach the pinky keys at the same time. So the first step is to just be able to play low very easily. So we'll spend a lot of time just doing low stuff. Once the player seems comfortable with that, then we'll do register skips. And I do registers like the hardest one, which is E to B. So we just practice doing low E and you practice the register key. So we'll do a lot of register skip work like that before we even try to tackle going from A to B. So once we start going A to B, I really like how the Longinus method book goes about doing this because it's really like kind of how I teach. And so I like to work out of even just the first 10 pages of the Longinus book. They have the student doing low stuff for quite a while, and then you do register skips, and then you practice just playing stuff only in the clarion register. And only after the student has control over playing only in the clarion register, then they start working on going over the break from A to B. And so I would recommend checking that out because I think it is very effective and works very, very well. And so by the time they get to that skip going from A to B, they're comfortable with it because they've already been doing that for, however many pages already. And so psychologically, in theory, they shouldn't be afraid to do the register jump from A to B. So that's a great question. Let's see. Do I use a short barrel? I do not. I play on the long one that my instrument came with. So I don't know what that is for the CSVR. I think maybe a 66 millimeter barrel. My mouthpiece is tuned sharper though, so it's tuned to like 442 because it's the regular B4 wire. So I have to use a longer barrel, so I'm not always playing really sharp for that. Can I say hi to Snickers? Snickers is my cousin's cat. Hi, kitty. Let's see. Okay. One more question, then we'll log off here. Most of what I look up says that open tip mouthpieces are more resistant, while closed tip mouthpieces are less resistant. But I found the opposite to be true with mouthpieces when I was testing. Okay, so it's not just the openness of the tip that will affect the resistance. It's also the length of the facing. Oh man, so this is like more math than my brain can do right now. But so let's see. The wider the tip, the softer the reed you need. But the longer the facing, the harder the reed you need. I hope I got that right. So if I didn't, I'm sure someone will correct me here. So it could be that you're trying mouthpieces that have closer tips, but they have, maybe a much longer facing. No, because that would be less resistant. Well, anyway, so it could be, that the tip opening and the facing length may be different than what you were expecting. And the other thing is the reed itself has to be matched to the mouthpiece facing and tip opening as well. So if you're testing mouthpieces and you're open to anything, and you're just trying to find a good fit of reed to the mouthpiece, you should have a variety of reed strengths with you and to go with the variety of mouthpieces. And just as a side note, I think that if you can get into a place like here in Chicago, we have the Vandoren advisory studio where you can set up an appointment, you can try out mouthpieces and with reeds and everything. If you can set up an appointment, a place like that, and actually have somebody there, like for example, I like to go when my buddy Michael Tran is working at the advisory studio because he's a very good player and he like literally does this for a living, helps people find mouthpieces and reeds that work with it, right? So if I'm like, well, I kind of like this mouthpiece, but I don't know the sound, he'll be like, here, try this reed. And I'll be like, wow, this is amazing. So I think it can be helpful to have somebody around to ask questions to and give you advice to help make that match make that match work. So, but if you don't, most mouthpiece manufacturers will have recommended reed strengths to go with their mouthpieces. And so you can kind of judge for yourself a little bit the variety of reeds that you may need to have with you whenever you're mouthpiece testing. So I hope that helps, but that's a great question as well. Okay, guys, this was great. The questions that everybody asked was really, really fantastic. This was a lot of fun. Let me know if you guys think this would be a good thing to continue to do in the future. This was really fun for me. I just love dishing out answers to questions and talking clarinet fun stuff with you. So yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend, a nice week next week. And as always, happy practicing.